Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Packernet. JJ Lahey, Ryan Schlipp, and Jake Schyvinck. We are here at your service. And tonight, wait, before I start, Ryan, what's our view count? Do we have people in here now? I see Drew and Goose.
Yep, we're here.
Sick.
We in
Rambo.
here.
All right. So I want to talk about dreams. Maybe if you're a Bears fan, you had a dream of beating the Packers. Maybe if you are Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, you had a dream of buying a playoff spot and snapping the longest playoff drought in pro sports. Maybe if you are Jake Schyvinck, you had a dream of getting healthy enough to talk on a live stream without losing his voice. Not me. I had a dream last night, Ryan, that you died and that Jordan Love was trying to win a Super Bowl for you.
Worth it.
I woke up and I felt weird about that. So, anyways, chat. Here's the thing. We are putting the topic to a vote for you guys. What are we talking about tonight? Are we talking about A, Bears? Or we talk about B, the Dallas Cowboys. Either way you go, we're going to be gushing over Jordan Love. That's the plan. Jake, you're dreaming of Cooper DeJean? Goose says you are.
Yes. Yeah, I pointed right at it.
I am like it was for all of us a foregone conclusion that he was going to be in the draft. I still got chills when I saw his name. When I saw that he had declared. And I just
Yes.
I don't know how the rest of the world is going to cope with the fact that he is a Green Bay Packer already. It is happening. It's confirmed.
Put it in the box. If you put a tackle, you're wrong.
I saw somebody else put who was it? The Chargers were taking Cooper DeJean, and I got ticked off. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? It's a Green Bay Packer right there. Beat it. You guys like our upgraded backdrop here?
I'm just screwing with stuff here.
No, that was go back.
I thought it was a little busy. It was giving me a migraine just staring at it. It was a little much.
Explosion of color.
It was much. Bad. Well, all right. I'll go back to this stupid thing.
I liked the hater hanging his head.
Fine.
There you go.
Fine.
Ryan's gonna need some blue light glasses.
Fine.
Goose, you already voted. You can't vote twice. Topic should be why Bo nickname should be Bo Body and finishing the acronym.
Yes.
You guys have noticed, right, that Bo's number is 80 and it looks like Bo. B-O.
It's true. I did not think of that.
I love it because, it's his back of his jersey says Bo Melton.
Poetry.
I've been having a lot of fun dragging receipts out since Sunday night. It's been a lot of fun. I cannot find a single Chicago's Bears fan to come back and respond to any of their receipts. None. I mean, you guys saw
into the hedge. They're not coming out. Not until September.
No, they're gonna wait. Well, they're gonna wait until the draft.
Yeah.
Did you see the one where they're talking about like you just wait until Caleb Williams gets here, and Kate from the Tailgate podcast tweeted like, "Oh my gosh, do the Bears fans ever get tired of this merry-go-round?"
Oh yeah, I did see that. Was that great. Katie?
It's Kate, but not Katie.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's at the very least, it's not the Katie who inspired all the Katies last week.
I see.
By the way, we tried to get Matt Ramage back on the podcast tonight, and by tried, I mean we texted him 30 minutes ago, and shockingly, his schedule, was not free enough in 30 minutes.
Wow.
So
what a douche!
I blame Jake. I blame you, Jake. You didn't get on scheduling that.
Also did try to get Blaine on here similarly 30 minutes ago and didn't quite pan out.
Freaking hate Blaine.
So as of 30 minutes ago, I wasn't sure if I was talking tonight. That's interesting. So that's good news.
This is here. We just gotta give this just some love. Packers fans celebrating like they're about to take this Caleb Williams hammer for the next 15 years. Kate says, do Bears fans ever get tired of running through the endless cycle? They do not, apparently. Although
on it goes.
I guess TikTok is the place to find like the depressed Bears fans. I'm not really on TikTok anymore, but other people have been doing the Lord's work and posting TikTok clips of upset Bears fans for our enjoyment on Twitter, and I appreciate it muchly. Chat, are you gonna drop some questions here? Like, I can only BS for so long before Jake hops off of here.
There's a question: does Matt know Kate as well? That's his best.
Actually, so I wonder. I could probably do this. I'm gonna search their Twitter handles and see if they've ever interacted.
There you go.
That's what we're gonna do.
Why do they have such long Twitter handles? Okay,
that's a show. Also, if they take Caleb, May's probably gonna be better, and they're gonna be so mad that this time the North Carolina QB did work out. And man, are they gonna be livid?
Oh man, it's just beautiful. It really is. Why?
I did too, Drew, but that's all right.
Topic.
Drew, all right, so
what are you finding over there, JJ?
They do know each other. At least Kate has tagged Ramage a couple times, and Ramage appears to follow Kate. So, I think this just is one more in the column of Matt Ramage is a liar.
Yep, he knows a lot.
Andy asks, "What will we do if the Packers actually win this game?" I mean, I think they've got at least a puncher's chance. This offense is quite good. I mean, Aaron Jones is like the Cowboys killer. Somebody posted that he averages like 123 yards and 2 touchdowns per game against the Cowboys.
They're like 6 yards a carry. So
here's the other thing, and I tweeted this earlier. The Cowboys are double screwed in this game because they have 2 curses working against them. One is they are cursed to always lose to the Packers in the playoffs. 2, the Packers are cursed to always lose at San Francisco, and they can't do that if they don't beat Dallas. So I don't see how Dallas has much of a chance here.
Very true.
It's probably going to have to be pretty much like the game last year in Green Bay, where it's like, they'll hit a couple big plays. They'll be able to run the ball really well. Yeah, could be a Watson game. And, like, they're going to get a break or two somewhere that Dak will throw them one. And that's the only way they're going to stop that offense. And it might just be enough to win like a 33-30 type of game that they won like at Carolina.
I do think that a high scoring game just makes the most sense for a litany of reasons, most of them named Joe Barry. The Packers right now, via weighted DVOA, they have the 3rd best offense in the league. The Cowboys have the 9th, I think, best offense. I tweeted too many times today, so I'm scrolling back trying to find it. Yeah, Cowboys have the number 9 offense.
Yeah.
Packers have the number 28 defense. Cowboys have the number 6 defense. Packers have the number 25 special teams. Cowboys have the number 10 special teams. So, and I think that is especially relevant to include because over the past 2 games, the Packers defense has allowed, by my count, 4 field goals and 0 touchdowns. And the special teams has coughed up a touchdown. Now you can give some shared blame to I knew you were doing something to your AI over there, Ryan. You can get some shared blame to that touchdown to the defense if you want to, but I am more than happy to pin it on special teams. So I think it's relevant, especially the Vikings have a very poor special teams as well. So there's that.
That's true.
Drew said, JJ, would it surprise you to know the Packers have a top 10 defense in points per game allowed? Doesn't surprise me because here's why. Because there's a lot of times when you watch a Packers game and you watch the defense and you just feel like they just suck buns the entire game. And you look at the score and like you're frustrated at the end of the game because you know that you just watched the defense just crap the bed all day long and get lucky several times. And then at the end, you're like complaining about the defensive performance you just watched. And somebody's like, oh, well, I don't know. They only gave up 17 points. Like, I guess nothing's good enough for you. And then you're like, all right, well, maybe I shouldn't be complaining, except that I just watched the game and they suck. I think the thing for me is that when you watch the Packers play another team, the Packers defense makes offense look easy for the opposing team. Like the Bears just march down the field every single time. And then somehow it would be third down. What would happen is the first down wouldn't quite work. Second down was a run up the middle for no gain. And the third down was a sack. But like that was the first time anything positive had happened for the defense that entire drive. And then all of a sudden you have the ball back and it's just surprising.
Every sack was key. Like it felt like every sack was
100%.
like, oh, they went down the field, but they got one big play that kind of just
5 sacks in the game. I mean, that's
and they
that's the reason we dominated.
They all saved points. Like, I think genuinely they all saved points, which is nuts. Like, you don't get that type of like clutch. You get maybe a clutch sack or 2 during a game. You don't get like 5 all in a clutch moment. Usually it's like, oh yeah, you backed up at like the 12 and you got one. Like it just was like everything was exactly when they needed it. Which
how about
that's sustainable? I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of variables that go into it too. I mean, points are great, but you got to look at all the variables in between. I mean, if a team had three total drives in a game and came away with 14 points or 17 points, would that be impressive? No, that sucks. So it's not just total points. It's a question of if the defense allows a 17 play drive that ends in 3 points, that sucked. Even if it didn't end in any points, to some degree, that sucked because your offense isn't scoring any points because you can't get off the field. You're dead tired right now. Yeah. It's not ideal. So it's the whole thing that gets wrapped up that needs to be looked at and not just total points. So yes, they've done a pretty above average job against total points. My whole thing is the parts that I don't like are the parts that lead me to not believe in the future it's going to be very good because they're just not good at stopping people from doing whatever they want. And that's the point. Eventually the dam's going to break wide open, which it has in numerous games because you can't stop the run and you can't stop the pass. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. And flip it around too. The Packers were only able to score 17 points in this game. Yeah. Do you feel like that was a great defensive performance from the Bears? It sucked. No, all of the damage was self-inflicted by the Packers. Should we be giving the Bears defense props because of what we saw? I mean, like I could run through the list of reasons, but I don't need to. You all know exactly what it was.
Well, and our offense plays into our defense too. I mean, we have these 15 play drives starting at the 5-yard line that punch in a score takes up almost a whole quarter. Defense allowed 0 points. Well, duh, they weren't on the field. So it's just total points is just such a shallow view when you're trying to really get a good picture of what's actually going on with defense.
If you would have told me at the start of the game, right, I get to see the first drive, Bears get 3, and I go Green, and you tell me, oh, Green Bay's only scoring 17. I'm like, oh, we're screwed.
Yeah,
like you wouldn't look at you go, okay, the scripting looks good. Chicago's off at least good enough to handle this defense, and like again, they came up like clutch where you just don't get that
Right.
every game.
Well, and that's the other thing is you can't rely on 5 sacks. That's not a consistent thing that's going to happen from game to game. So it's not something you can rely on. See, look how good they are. Bull crap. That's what happened, and that's great. That's not a formula that you can carry forward.
No. And so I saw this today as well. Hayden Winks from Underdog Fantasy posted this. I don't know if you guys saw it, where it's passing production against. So it's EPA per pass against for like air yards and all the like the quadrants. And you just see like that Packers like 20 plus air yards, you know, to the left, they're 24th or 29th over the middle, they're 29th to the right. And you just see like 31st short left, you know, middle behind the line of scrimmage are 29th. And like they're just getting shredded in so many spots.
Right.
And like the places they're like good shouldn't be surprising, right? Like 10 air yards to the left and right. They're good. Why? Because that's where the corners are playing all the time, right? They're playing 10 yards off.
Where
And
the guys
like,
are
25 plus, they're 6th, 13th, and 16th. That's good. Why? They're playing quarters and cover 3, and they got a lot of guys down there, right? Like so just seeing this defense, and you like look at all these squads, you go, man, they're just it's linebacker secondary play, like coverage play is just not good right now. And unfortunately, Dak Prescott loves throwing in the middle of the field to Ferguson. They get Lamb in the slot, and it's like it's a tough formula. So
I don't see what you mean by that. Quay Walker and Preston Smith can cover Lamb. Idiot.
Learned. Put Quay on the number 1 guy. He'll lock him up.
So I'm struggling a bit here because the chat is asking some interesting draft questions, but we're supposed to be laughing at the Bears. So maybe we alternate a draft question and then laughing at the Bears. We have Drew wants to know how many offensive linemen we draft. At least 3, right? He says. Jake, what's your assessment right now of how many offensive linemen we need?
Oh man, that's a different question, isn't it? So I guess I don't think it's going to be 3 offensive linemen. I think you're going to see. I do think you're going to see Green Bay kind of be like, all right, well, I think we like Walker, right? I think we like Walker the second half of the year. Like you look at Jordan Love's second half, and a lot of people have looked at that and they go, yeah, this is it. You look at Rasheed Walker's second half of the season, it's good. It's impressive, at least for their standards of like, okay, good in pass protection and a gamer here or there in the run game where he shows up and dominates guys, which is great. I think it's the question for me is how do they feel about center? That's the whole question, because I think they know they're going to draft another like probably positionally flexible guard tackle, like, oh, he could play here but also here, and they're probably going to have, you know, they're going to have somebody to come in and be that insurance. It's just a question of, I think, if they want to upgrade center, then I think we could talk about 3. But I do think they're going to also look for a true like right guard. So my guess is what Brian put in the chat as well is it's 2. I think it's going to be 2. I think it's going to be positionally flexible player and then true guard.
Ryan, how many offensive linemen do the Packers need? They have 11 on the roster at the moment.
I mean, I as far as how many they're going to draft is a separate question, but as far as how many I'm comfortable with, I think Elton Jenkins and Zach Tom I like. Rasheed has been pretty good, and he's certainly intriguing because he's a rookie and he's getting better. As much as I hate relying on 7th round picks, you hate to also be like, I know we need to replace him. Yeah. So I don't know that he needs to be replaced. I think I'm kind of over John Runyon and Josh Myers, if I'm being honest. I think it's just kind of done for me, especially John Runyon. I mean, Myers occasionally, like he had a good game this past week and everybody's kind of freaking out about it, which is so funny because everybody hated him, and I was like, he's not that bad, and now he's been terrible, and everyone suddenly loves the offensive line, loves Josh Myers. I don't know what's going on. But Runyon,
I told you guys in the preseason that Runyon had broken something. Something in his brain broke.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. He's just done. So I mean, both of those guys, especially since it's, you know, we're talking year 3 now, so it's like
4.
What do you want me to do? Yeah, what do you want me to do to for as far as assessment? Like I was just looking at for the podcast tomorrow, like Stokes, like I get you've been injured and all that stuff, but we need something next year. Like this is your last year. These guys have been playing the whole time. So I'm you don't get any more time. Now that doesn't mean we're going to 100% draft somebody and force them in there to replace them. I don't know how that's going to pan out. They're going to draft best player available and probably will be hoping to replace them, but I don't know that's going to happen. But I think their time has kind of run out, and it's just a matter of time before we find someone better.
What do you think, JJ?
I think they will dip back into the well again and draft 3 offensive linemen at some point. Might take a guard early, might take a tackle early, and I think we'll get 1 or 2 guys on day 3. I'm just not betting against Goody taking 3 offensive linemen because
He likes to do that.
history has shown.
Yeah, I understand that. I think it's just, to me, it's just going to come down to, again, it's how they feel about Josh Myers. Are they going to look to add somebody behind him or replace him? If they do that, then I think the 3 offensive linemen comes into play. But again, I'm not in the room. So they seem to be the team that's kind of like, he's fine. We're fine. We don't need to worry about it, right? And I don't like that, but it's something that they kind of do. So
Yeah. That's a good point. There's like one position group per year that we all look at and say, like, dude, you got to do something here. And then they just don't.
Yep.
Like 2019 or 20, it was defensive tackle. Like it was brutal in the summer.
Right.
Like we barely had enough guys to put together a roster. And then everybody that they had, like all 5 guys they had, made the final 53. They didn't bring anybody in. No free agents. There was like a dude that we thought was going to be on the practice squad, and nope, he's on the 53. Like 2 years ago, it was safety. There was wide receiver 3 years ago. This past year, I don't even remember what it was. Safety. It was safety again.
It was safety again. Yeah.
So I don't even know. Like there's and like I don't know. Like I guess I'll take the lumps with the good with Brian Gutekunst, but it is weird that it feels like every year there's a position that everybody knows you need to do something about, and Goose just kind of sits back and goes, watch this. And then like it's exactly what we think it's going to be the whole year. And then at the end of the season, he's like, oh, all right, fine. We'll draft 2 tight ends.
Oh yeah.
So how about Justin Fields? Do you think that was his last game in a Bears uniform?
I think so.
Yes.
I hope it's not. I
think we would
I
agree
miss
with
Mitch
that.
Trubisky. I really didn't want them to move on from him.
Yep.
But then, like, I think it's gotten better for us actually with Fields. So maybe 3rd time's the charm for the Bears. Maybe Caleb Williams is going to be Pat Mahomes, or maybe 2 years from now we're going to be sitting back here chuckling again.
I know Caleb's obviously the favorite, but I wouldn't rule out May as the first overall pick.
Who would you take?
Who would I, if I was Chicago, right? Are you saying if I was Chicago, or if you had the number?
You take JJ McCarthy, wouldn't you?
If I was Chicago, no.
What if the Bears did that?
I would like to
what if
we're
all looking at the top 2
Hill
quarterbacks
from Iowa? If I were the Bears, I would rather do that. But if I was trying to win, you're saying as the Bears though, right? Who would you take first? Because I think that matters a little bit.
Like, no, if you today got hired as the new GM of the Bears and you actually wanted the Bears to win, who would you take at number 1?
I'd probably lean Caleb. Yeah.
Ryan, let me flip the question around to you. Which quarterback in this draft class do you think is the guy that the Bears will take, given that they traded the farm to move up 1 spot and not take Mahomes or Watson? Like, who's the most Bears quarterback in this draft class?
Well, I mean, who I actually think they're going to take is Caleb Williams. Who is the Bears quarterback in the draft class? I almost wonder if it'd be like Jaden Daniels. I mean, Drake May makes sense just from the whole North Carolina thing, if we want to just kind of be simple. But I don't know. You wonder about Jaden's accolades and everything else and what he's accomplished in college, if there's any way they can get excited about that and maybe pull the trigger on it, just do something kind of, I don't want to say stupid because he's a good quarterback, but rather than just take the obvious options that are sitting in front of you. But I would bet almost anything it's going to be Caleb Williams if you're asking me straight up who they're going to draft.
Is there a different team in the league besides Chicago who, if they had the number 1 overall pick, that you would have less faith in to get the pick right than the Chicago Bears? Is there a different team that you think is even less likely to get the pick right?
Yeah. Yes, there is.
Who is it?
I mean, it's got to be the Raiders. No,
Some dysfunctional teams out there for sure.
got to be the Raiders, I think.
Speaking of dysfunctional teams, holy cow, what in the world is going on in Nashville?
Oh, they want to rebuild and Vrabel does not.
I just saw that. Yeah, Ari Mirov said that.
I do think that is the case.
I didn't even see the whole AJ Brown thing. I didn't know that was a big thing.
Oh yeah, Vrabel was pissed that night. They traded him. He was.
I don't know if you saw that, JJ, but apparently
I didn't see that. No.
Apparently, Vrabel had told or had made some kind of a statement. As long as I'm coach here, he's not going anywhere. AJ Brown will not be traded. And the GM made the decision on draft night to trade him. And there's a video of them in the war room, and he gets up and is storming around just pissed. And I guess I didn't really understand what he was saying in terms of they kind of did like a hybrid rebuild, kind of not a rebuild thing. And because Vrabel does not want to rebuild, he wants to win now. And the team's like, we need to just do a full rebuild, and he doesn't want to do it. So he's just not really the right guy to rebuild with. So we're going to go in a completely different direction and go somewhere else, which I guess I kind of get it, but I still, unless Vrabel's like, I'm not doing it, I would just keep him and say, this is what we're doing. Suck it up, because he's the right coach for the job.
Right. It's fair.
What in the heck? I'm looking at the trades. So they traded AJ Brown to the Eagles for
18 and 101.
The pick that they used to draft Traylon Burks and a 3rd round pick that then they traded to the Jets, who drafted Jeremy Ruckert. And that 3rd round pick they traded. What? They traded their 1st, which got used to draft Jermaine Johnson, their 3rd for Jeremy Ruckert, their 2nd for a 2nd that they spent on Roger McCreary, who's bad, a 3rd that they drafted Nicholas Petit-Frere with, who's not even starting, and a 5th that they drafted Kyle Phillips with. What are they doing?
Yeah, that GM got fired.
So then this year they traded a 2nd round pick that got spent on BJ Ojulari, a 3rd round pick that got spent on Garrett Williams, and a 3rd round pick to the Cardinals that has not been spent yet for the pick they drafted Will Levis with and Ty J. Spears.
Yep.
That's like a master class in how to turn an actual pretty good roster into just complete garbage. Like I'll never understand the AJ Brown thing. Like they had a really good offensive line, a really good like tight end, running back. AJ Brown is just a dominant wide receiver, and it's just like we're gonna let the offensive line go to crap, and we're gonna get rid of this wide receiver, and we're just gonna say, I guess we'll see how it goes. Like what are you doing? You have a good football team.
This is the difference, right? You look at like just 2 GMs, right? You look at the Titans, they go, we got to trade. We're going to trade away AJ Brown for a 1. And then you look at the Ravens, who got a 1 for Marquise Brown.
Right.
Interesting. Right. Two different organizations.
It's almost like they didn't know what they had in AJ Brown. Like, do you not realize how good that freaking guy is?
Because they had Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
They were like,
Their
we can't throw to this guy, so what do we
He's
do?
no good. Yeah.
their draft class from this year does not look good either. So their first round pick was Peter Skoronsky. They got him playing at left guard. They drafted
'cause of
him
the length.
11th overall. He's playing at left guard. He's got a 61 PFF grade.
He might be
Let's
the
see how
best
many.
of the linemen. And
Let's
it's
see
not
how
been
many,
good this year for the linemen.
So he has given up 5 sacks and 32 pressures, which is bad.
It's not great.
And we talked about Nicholas Petit-Frere. He was not from this class, but I'm bringing him up again because he's got a 35.5 grade this year. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is bad.
Their next pick was Will Levis. I think he's dreadful. Some people like him. Ty J. Spears was their 3rd round pick. He's got like 450 yards.
That's because they have Derrick Henry on their team. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I mean,
I will
guess.
contest you very, very, very heavily on Ty J. Spears.
You think he's good?
Yes,
I mean, he's like
do.
the 40th
Yes, I
graded
do.
rusher.
Through 14 weeks, he was like 4th in rush yards over expectation per carry.
Through which week?
14 weeks.
14 weeks.
So
So
he was ahead of Bijan and was ahead of Gibbs, both.
He's got 2 touchdowns, a 77 rushing grade, 300 yards after contact.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess for a 3rd rounder, it's fine. I feel like, by the way, this is probably pointless to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. I feel like the 3rd round is where I want the Packers to target a running back this year. I mean, maybe they'll just run it back with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon again, but and I know this is not a great running back class overall.
Hey, you take it easy.
I'm not saying there's nobody good. I'm just saying it's not a deep class. There's a few guys who are really good.
There's a few that went back, which is unfortunate. And the best guy potentially is coming off an ACL tear back in November. So yeah, it's not ideal.
Drew says he's going on a limb and saying the Bears don't take a quarterback. Who's the best non-quarterback? Jake, it's your music.
Malik Neighbors.
There it is. JJ is not.
I'm dead serious. I'm putting him at 1. I don't care.
What did you say, Ryan?
I said JJ is not happy with that answer.
Oh, I don't mind that answer. I like Malik Neighbors.
Over Marvin Harrison, you like him?
I actually don't know who I'd rather have the Packers draft between those two guys. I like them both. I mean, the big thing is like there's not that obvious defensive guy to call up next. Like usually there's like an edge rusher that you would say is, well, he's the best non-quarterback, but like there's a lot of offensive guys you got to get through. It's like 3 quarterbacks, maybe 4. You got Joe Alt, both of the top wide receivers, maybe Brock Bowers. Then I mean, who's the top defensive prospect?
Probably Latu.
Turner at 9 right now.
I think it's probably Latu. Could be Turner.
Yeah, Dallas Turner at 9.
I mean, Latu's my guy, but
right.
I think he's the best pass rusher right now. It's just like, our team's going to be like, well, you medically retired a couple of years ago. We don't like that.
Not great.
Yeah.
We don't like that. So you're not the top guy for us. But like otherwise, based purely on what we've seen from him, it would be hard to put anybody above him.
What about Jared Verse? Do you like Jared Verse?
He's good. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, what would you think about him being the first non-quarterback selected?
I think it's fine. I think, again, it's going to come down to what team, obviously whoever makes that move of like first defender, like what they're running, because Turner's like 240 pounds, right? Like he's not for everybody. Green Bay would never select him. He's nowhere near big enough, right? But there will be plenty of teams who go, yeah, we like just this rush end. He's got a lot better, and easily he could go. If they like Verse, I don't see why they wouldn't, right? Like he was the top guy consensus-wise back in the summer. So I think either one of those 3 could be the first to come off. It's just a question of like Latu's like truly healthy and they don't find anything.
So Goose has got a good question asking about Wink Martindale for defensive coordinator. So this brings to mind, this was like the calmest, quietest Black Monday I can remember in a while. Like I think 2 coaches got fired. I think there's only 3 openings that I know
Smith
of.
Smith got fired on Sunday night. Obviously McDaniels and Staley were in season.
Right.
Rivera went. Right.
Yep.
We're still waiting on Bill.
Yep.
So
that'll be happening probably.
I think it will, because I think Vrabel's gonna go there then. Which I don't quite know why. Like he'd want to go there. I'm not sure they're close to contending.
No, I mean that's true. They're a rebuilding team too.
Yeah, that's the one thing is like, yeah, I know he probably wants obviously to have that kind of like, oh yeah, Kraft will trust me to get this thing off the ground and won't like be hasty with firing me. I think if there's anybody who could like steer a sinking ship in LA, it might be Vrabel. You've already got your QB.
That's true. Yeah,
but I agree. He's probably going to go to New England.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me today and ask if I think that Vrabel could end up being the defensive coordinator for the Packers next year. I think there's 0 chance of that because I think that Vrabel will have a couple of NFL head coach jobs offered to him this year, and it's if he wants those. If he doesn't want those, there's a lot of blue blood college football programs that would make him a very wealthy man for a very long time to come. And I actually think that another very plausible option here is Vrabel takes a year off and is the Ohio State head coach for the 2025 season if Ryan Day doesn't get things done against Michigan, because sounds like that is very high on Vrabel's wish list. He was a coach and player at Ohio State, and it is on his bucket list to be a head coach there someday. So, no, I don't think he's going to be taking a defensive coordinator position.
Have a Harbaugh thing going on there.
Could be.
So what about Martindale, though? Didn't talk about the question.
Do you guys like Martindale? I loved what he did in Baltimore, and his first year with the Giants I thought was good. I think Martindale's a good coach.
So I think the thing that makes me nervous is the story surrounding what's going on with Martindale right now. First of all, he was very good in Baltimore, and then the story was they parted ways. I don't fully understand why, but they parted ways, and then he went with the Giants as their DC. And then apparently I heard the story today was Martindale just stormed out of the Giants meeting room. They haven't been able to get a hold of him since, and he is down in the Keys in Florida or something right now is the report. So he just said F you, not answering his phone, and he's off taking a vacation. So maybe just not exactly the best character guy, which maybe you don't care about that, but I think our locker room is the Packers definitely do, so that wouldn't fly. But even still, you just wonder about, especially if things kind of went south in Baltimore that caused that separation. It doesn't sound great if the guy can't get along with his fellow coaches.
What would you rather have? Wink Martindale down in the Keys in the offseason, refusing to take calls from the head coach, or Joe Barry? Those are your 2 options.
Can he at least call in the plays from his yacht in the Keys or from his
the offseason? There's no calls, no plays to call in. It's the offseason.
I'm just saying, if he were to, if he
Who
wanted,
would you have more faith in? Wink Martindale calling in plays from his boat. He's got on his phone, he's got a Fubo on there, and he can see the game on TV. And then he's he's got an iPad, and he's DMing the linebackers coach and saying run this, that, or Joe Barry in the booth.
I'll probably go Wink on that one. My only concern would be the plays getting in on time, but other than that, I would go Wink Martindale. A little bit of a delay on the whole streaming.
I don't know if they have the personnel yet for what Martindale wants to do. Not sure I'm trusting the defensive backs with a lot of cover zero at the moment. So personnel would have to get better. I might actually lean Joe over Wink in that scenario, just based on what we have currently on the roster. If they
Jake,
draft
there's a
2 man
chance-
corners, then then
Yeah.
we're having a different conversation. I
There's a
think.
good chance, unless we decide to stick with what we're doing, that we're going to be looking at some level of an overhaul to some degree anyways. I mean, everybody's going to be looking for, I need these couple pieces to be able to make my thing work. I get what you're saying in terms of massive liability, like we're going to get killed without the right guys. But I think that's probably going to be a thing no matter what, which will be interesting too going into the draft. And also, assuming we do get rid of Joe Barry, is another reason probably to expect defense, because that's going to be high on the wish list, which I think is probably the reason we went, when we had Pettin, he had a wish list and Joe Barry went and hit it. And then, we get another defensive coordinator. He's got, he wants Quay or whatever the case is, and we go and get that. Probably contributes to why we're getting so many defensive pieces, because we keep getting new defensive coordinators.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
So here's the defensive candidates that we know about. All right.
Yeah.
So Wink Martindale, Mike Vrabel. Not going to happen, but whatever.
I mean, I think that's number 1. But like you said, it's a pipe dream. Like we should have opened the show with that as a dream.
Jesse Minter. Okay.
Yeah.
Zach Orr from Baltimore. Chris Hewitt from Baltimore. Anthony Weaver from Baltimore. Joe Barry returning, or Mike LaFleur switching to the other side of the ball. I think this is the Rolodex that we have to pick from. I'm very excited to see which one.
Got to throw him in the mix.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Leonard.
Yep.
And
didn't he?
Dude, that's who's gonna be. That's who LaFleur's gonna hire. It's gonna be freaking Jimmy Leonard.
Isn't he reportedly accepting DC job at Colorado?
Is he?
Oh
really?
I saw that report. Thought I saw that report.
God bless you, Coach Brian.
Crazy. No kidding.
I thought that there was a report. There it is. Brian says that too. Thought I saw that.
God bless you, Coach Prime.
Oh, that was old. Deion Sanders in Colorado Buffalo score big, set to secure former Wisconsin DC, who has tempting NFL offers. So it says set to.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but
sounds like they're moving in that direction. That'd be pretty wild.
I see the chat, namely Brian, wants to move on from Devondre Campbell. I don't think that's going to happen because it's $11.5 million in dead money, and I think he's serviceable, and I think the Packers like him. So I think get him healthy in the offseason and run him back one more year.
Yeah, which is unfortunately going to end the dream of mine to have Edrin Cooper be next to Quay in the draft. So
you can have 3 linebackers.
You could. This is true. You could.
I mean,
we're going to switch up to a 4-3.
Just switch to a 4-3.
Want to do anyways.
That's true.
All right. So just hypothetically, if we did switch to a 4-3, what are we missing? Because you could tell Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness to put their hands in the dirt,
which Van Ness is much better at.
Not exactly sure what you do with Preston Smith. As far as the defensive tackles, you got TJ Slayton. I mean, you could make Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt play as 4-3 defensive tackles.
Yeah, they'd just be obviously the more. They'd be in that more two shade little 3, and then you'd have Slayton probably in the base be the almost shading close-ish to nose, sometimes a 1 tech.
So we could just run a 5-3 and just,
well,
we're tired of this safety-driven defense.
You know what? 46. Let's do it. Let's just go to it. We're just kind of like we're inching towards it anyway. Get some linebackers. Let's roll.
It's a Joe Barry special.
Cooper DeJean basically can play it. You know?
We're supposed to be crapping on the Chicago Bears. I keep forgetting that. Did
We're
you
supposed to
guys?
talk about defensive coordinators too, but we just keep jumping all over the place.
This is true.
We're gonna
the category, and then we just go down a rabbit hole, and then we just do something else.
This is true.
So on the topic of the Chicago Bears, let's talk about Wink Martindale. Which offensive lineman would you draft if we switch to a 4-3 defense?
And then let's rank these defensive coordinator hires. Are we moving to a 4-3? Oh, man.
I can't believe that the Chicago Bears still haven't figured out that Luke Getsy is a plant.
Pretty crazy.
I mean, you watch the crap that he calls against us.
I love it.
Like nobody who would actually call these plays. Nobody. But they're so dumb. They haven't figured out that he's a plant. It's amazing.
No word yet. No word yet out of Palace Hall on
Palace
Getsy, which is kind of wild,
Right?
to be honest.
It's gonna be a heck of a scandal when they figure that one out.
Let Getsy cook. Even though he started multiple fires in the kitchen for sure. Like this is clearly an issue, but that's fine.
Here's this is how I'm gonna call the game as Luke Getsy.
Okay.
All right, Justin. I need you to go out and make sure that you do the Aaron Rodgers footwork that we practiced. Okay. Do that because that's what made Aaron Rodgers like so elite in 2020. He told me it was all about the footwork or something like that. And that's why he unlocked himself in 2020. So do that. So to start, we got a screen to DJ Moore. Didn't work. Okay. 2nd and 9. Okay. Run right up the middle. Ooh. Tackle for a loss. Crap. Okay. So what we're going to do right now.
full field read.
I just need you to bomb it deep. Okay. And listen, we can't have an incompletion. So you stand back there as long as it takes and make sure that you got your guy. I know you got a strong enough arm. So listen, make sure he's in the end zone by the time you uncork that sucker.
Hail Mary.
It's like 3rd and 6 from like the 18, your own 18. Wait till he's in the end zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't work. All right. Back to some design QB runs.
A little, we'll move the pocket a little bit for you to throw the flat.
Jake, you need to dunk on the Bears as well. Before we can go back to the draft, you have to dunk on the Bears once for us. Adam says Fields counting to 5 before he throws is a Fields thing.
And the Mississippis are extra long too. He does it.
He has to spell
He spells it. What? M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I.
Yeah, you can't just say the word. You have to spell it. It's like, crap, I misspelled it the 3rd time as Carl Brooks has just drilled me.
Come on, we only got 10 minutes left in the stream.
I don't know what you want me to dunk on them for.
Maybe Ryan will bail you out.
Their play speaks for itself, man. Like, I don't have to dunk on them.
That's the ultimate dunk.
Brisker's just dunking on himself after a game being a sore loser. Like the dude can't cover, but hey,
that's the worst thing I've seen in a while.
Like honestly, Brisker, listen, this is open invitation. Okay, if you get kind of like Adrian Amos syndrome and you're just sick of the crap over there, like we'll take you to be a box player. Promise,
right.
No problem. If you want to come over to the side that wins, be my guest when your contract's up.
Yeah, that was really pathetic.
So,
Sean in the chat says, "What about Mike Zimmer?" I don't think so. No. I don't think he likes Matt LaFleur. I don't think he would come work for Matt LaFleur. Similarly, by the way, I don't know if Mike Vrabel would come work for his old employee. Just throwing that out there.
Like we said, though, I think this Vrabel, like, probably getting a head coach offer or two.
Many.
Like, if he didn't get one of them, like, if New England's like not going to offer him, which I don't think that's becomes the case. I then like, okay, like do whatever you can, because coverage consistency, front multiplicity, like that sounds kind of like what they're trying to do with a lot of this defensive lineman that they've kind of drafted. So like I think everybody's in on that. But I don't think like Vrabel's just going to get DC offers. I think Minter's your guy if you can get him. I am on board. They suffocated a team with a QB who's a Heisman runner-up and 3 guys who should be going in the top 75 in the draft. And they just didn't know what to do. Like Penix looked like he was playing an NFL defense last night. Like it looked kind of scattershot spotty, like how he was kind of playing a little bit in November when people were like, "Oh man, is this Washington team going to survive? This Pac-12 gauntlet?" Like that's what it looked like. It was like
I mean,
it
half
felt
their
like
players are 25 years old, but yeah,
but it's just like it's a
NFL.
It looked like they were playing a 15-7 game against Arizona State. That's what it looked like. It looked like that game again. But they just did not know what to do. They couldn't hit deep shots, and Penix is a little wonky with touch over the middle of the field. A lot of people have pointed that out. And their receivers catching through contact, not named Rome Odunze. And Odunze dropped a couple of passes he probably should have had. Penix missed Odunze a couple of times. Like it looked out of sorts. That's the type of DC. I would love to have a DC that goes, yeah, I'm going to get Jared Goff out of sorts just twice a year. I'm going to get Fields. Well, that's not hard, but you can get Fields out of sorts playing any basic coverage. But, the NFC, can I get Purdy off of his game? Can I get the Niners off their game? The Eagles, right? Dallas. Like, I think he probably can. And you have so much capital to invest in his defense. Like, I feel like Minter, probably your number one. I know someone mentioned Evero. Yeah, Evero's already on here. I feel like if they haven't fired him, have they?
He's fired by the Panthers. Yeah,
he was. Oh, then
yeah.
I mean, that's another one that should definitely be on the list. Like,
Adam
kind of turned him away initially, right in the Barry hiring, but I think could have just been an experience thing.
Do you like what he did at Carolina?
Yeah, I that was like the one thing that like wasn't horrendous in that building like all year. Like they played some decent defense with the pretty poor personnel. Like JC Horn was hurt a bunch. They got, I think gosh sakes, who's the safety? Chin was hurt as well, right? They've had like Jonte Jackson, CJ Henderson, guys who have not panned out in the secondary, and they're still like a pretty decent pass defense. Like you add like DeJean and like Quinyon Mitchell and like other DBs into this room, and then you let like Evero have something on the back end. I think he can cook.
Adam wants to know, what was Minter at Michigan when McDonald was the DC? I don't think he was. I think he was the defensive coordinator at like Vanderbilt or something.
I think that's right.
He was a Baltimore Ravens guy. He was like the defensive backs coach for the Ravens, and then he was the DC at Vandy or somewhere down south for 1 year, and then immediately came in and replaced Mike McDonald.
Yeah. 2019 assistant DB coach, 2020 DB coach for the Ravens. And like you said, 2021 Vanderbilt, and then for the last 2 seasons, the DC. And briefly an interim head coach for a game against East Carolina.
So as we're wrapping up here, Jake, sounds like your pick for DC is Jesse Minter.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you can coax him away, you do that. Otherwise, Evero.
Ryan, I'm debating if I should let you answer or if I should make sure I get mine in first.
Go for it.
I think I want to go ahead and do Anthony Weaver from the Ravens. I just am nervous about Weaver because I think that he seems like he's on the fast track to like head coach in 2025 somewhere. So I just don't know that you get very long of him in Green Bay. But I guess I'd rather have a good DC for a year than not have a good DC. So I think that's the way I would go.
And that's true of everybody. I mean, if you have a good defense, I mean, look at the 49ers. They had a great defense. The guy got hired to be a head coach, but you got the culture plus his whole staff. that hopefully it'll be able to sustain itself is the hope. And I think that's true of, Evero, I think is actually kind of interesting. Just, I mean, not only because we kind of have the system in place or whatever, but I hadn't really
what I wanted last time around.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it until Green and Gold Draft mentioned it. But with him being the DC in Carolina and the coach getting fired, I mean, he could end up being a head coach or he could end up staying there. I don't really know what the situation is, but it is interesting that it's possible that a different head coach could get hired and bring in a different staff and he could be somewhere else, meaning we'd actually get a crack at him. I didn't really consider that as an option. But that would definitely be interesting just for the sake of consistency and actually having somebody that can run this scheme properly. But I still do like the idea of trying to do the Baltimore thing. I think Jake's scaring me a little bit with the whole scheme change adjustments and whatnot. But I don't know. I don't know. I just want to get somebody competent. I don't really care, honestly, what the scheme is. Whatever it is, if you can call it right, you can make it work. If you can run what Joe Barry's trying to run, just call the right plays, it'll work. If you can do what Baltimore does or do what Wink does, it'll, we'll make it work. So I think Evero is a competent guy. I think there's a lot of guys in Baltimore that'll probably be pretty awesome. I'm not being super picky about it. I just want somebody that's good. And I think there's going to be a lot of candidates, and we got to make sure we get one of them.
Well, get ready for Mike LaFleur to the defensive side of the ball.
It's gonna be somebody we don't want to guarantee.
Probably.
Who is that Jets guy? I mentioned him before, and I think he's getting interviewed. I just saw he's getting an interview with somebody, I think. But Matt LaFleur's got a big history with him. I think he's like the cornerback coach or something.
Jeff Ulbrich?
No. Dang it.
I'm looking at their coaching staff.
Yeah. It's always good entertainment. See if Manuel. I think that is who it is. Where's Manuel?
Oh, yeah, this Marquand Manuel. I have had a bunch of people ask me about him. I don't know anything about him to say whether he's good or not. I really should learn about him.
Yeah, I was just one of the podcasts. I was just going through and I'm like, okay, who's a guy that's got a big history with LaFleur that he's going to end up wanting to get? And I don't remember all the details, but like this guy has a big history with Matt LaFleur and everything else. Plus, he's working with his best friend over there with the Jets right now, which there's going to be already a connection there. He can put in a good word for him and everything else. So that one just stood out massively to me. If we're going the route of he's going to pick someone he knows and likes, this one. Double circle, triple underline.
Tyler says he played for the Packers too.
He did.
Yep. That's another thing.
I think Green and Gold Draft Report has the perfect thing to send us away on. So we're going to wrap up here.
All right.
Vince Lombardi says coaches who can outline plays on a blackboard are a dime a dozen. The ones who win get inside their player and motivate. There you go. Let's get that defensive coordinator pipeline going like the NFC West has been doing for a couple of years.
I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay. Please keep your shirt on.
Score predictions, Dallas. I assume we're not doing a show until next Tuesday. So
we should do that at least.
Should probably just throw it out there.
Didn't even think to talk about the game, I guess. We got a minute and a half to talk about it.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and take the Packers to win. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think both teams are gonna get to 27 points. Actually, Goose has Packers 28, Dallas 24. I like that a lot. I'm taking that. I'm taking Goose's prediction. Okay. So the Cowboys are 7.5 point favorites, and I think that sounds about right, but I'm still taking the Packers to win.
Jake, you got anything?
Yeah, I just am. I think it's great. Like seeing Dallas with 24 points, like that sounds really nice on paper. I think Green Bay is going to have to win I think they're going to have to win like 38-35 to win the game. And I as much as I like believe in the offense to kind of be able to keep up, I think they're covering 7.5. First of all, I think that line is enormous. For a team that struggles against the run on Dallas defense, and LaFleur knows that, right? He played him last year. Like, you saw what happened. And if you get a Watson back for this game, I don't think they're going to struggle to keep up with them at all. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be one of those games where you go, man, like this team is like they're really close. It's going to feel like the Arizona game in 2009. I think it is. It's going to be like one of those games where like, wow, the offense is unbelievable. If they can get a few pieces on defense, they're really going to be able to contend in a year. So I'm going to say 34-28 Dallas.
I mean, I will just say that if you look at this game that we just had against the Bears and you just take away just the big dumb mistakes, Packers should have had 31 points in this game. Actually, no, 34 because of the missed field goal. So if you just take away the biggest goofball mistakes, 2 dropped perfectly thrown touchdowns, whatever the heck that was to end the half, and the missed field goal, 34 points.
I'm going to come in with a little bit of a spicy take. Who's the best team Dallas beat?
It's the Detroit Lions, bro.
Detroit Lions are
probably.
And Philly has been complete dog crap. They put them in week 14.
Everybody's dogging Jacksonville when Philly also lost 5 of 6.
They beat the Giants. They beat the Jets. They beat the Patriots. They beat the Chargers. They beat the Rams when they sucked. They beat the Giants. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Seahawks. That's kind of something. They beat the Eagles when they sucked. They beat the Lions who suck, and they beat the Washington Commanders who suck.
I mean, DVOA does account for all that.
The good teams that they played, the 49ers, they lost. The Eagles, back when they were not crap, they lost. The Bills, they lost. The Dolphins, they lost. So to me, it's a question of, are the Packers a good team or a bad team? If they're a bad team, they're going to get boat raced 45-10. If they're a good team, they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
We got a Cowboys fan
is what Miami did. So there you go.
Yeah.
Lions. Yeah. Lions are super good. Lions are trash.
I think the one thing is
Lions are nothing.
The one thing is like
they are
Green Bay off. Green Bay just being a good or bad team. I think Green Bay is good offensively and bad defensively. And it just, to me, just feels like a game where it's just going to be, they're going to need Dak to do something really dumb, which he's capable of doing. He's cut down on the turnovers this year, though, and gotten back to like more of a 1.7, 1.8 turnover percentage, interception percentage, which has often been where he's been at career-wise.
So
I just
might
think
be due.
Well, there is the you might be due fallacy. Yeah, I just if they can get 1 or 2 of those, that if you could guarantee me a Dak maybe 2 interception game, I think they win the game. It's just going to be about, will they finish that? Because Fields gave him one last week. They didn't capitalize. Can't do that. Can't do that.
Our defense just needs to actually come and play freaking football, because
and they have
our defense in years past, I would have absolutely counted on them to get a couple turnovers. They're not getting the gift wrapped turnovers right now.
Right.
Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, they need to be the team they've been for the last 2 weeks. So, we need to believe, there's a distinct difference between pre-Jair suspension and post-Jair suspension. If we want to get into some superstitious or kind of find a reason to believe like what happened last year, right? They started to get hot after the bye week. I mean, Jair seemed to be a little bit more locked in and contrition, and even Devondre, he came back and was playing better. He was dog crap for a long time until he came back and started playing better. So maybe the defense is a little bit more locked in. Maybe Joe Barry's playing for his job. I don't know what it is, but the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, the Packers had the best defensive performance via DVOA in the NFL. And this past week wasn't quite as good, but it was solid.
Yeah, we have had Matt LaFleur running defensive meetings the past 3 weeks. there's that.
There you go. And I was going to say the Detroit defense gave up 192 to Jefferson last week, right? Like Green Bay obviously didn't do that. Like they had a decent handle on things. But of course, you know, it's Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins, which
history also says that we shouldn't have got in the playoffs when we were 3-6, but we got in anyways. So
he says no 7 seed is
I
won.
will say
7 seed has been around for 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, some of the 7 seeds, folks. I'm telling like Pittsburgh's a 7 again this year. Are they
Has there
good?
been a 7 seed with a winning record prior to this year? I mean, come on.
Yes, probably. But like legitimately, like adding that 7th team, especially like usually in the NFC, right? These past couple of years where it's been top heavy, it's kind of like, oh wow, that team got in. Yeah, they're not winning. Like kidding me? Like
let me ask the chat this. If the Packers were the 2 seed and the 49ers were the 7 seed, would you be talking about no 7 seed has ever won? Yeah, right. Whatever.
I need to know who the 7 seeds were now.
The Bears were the first ever NFC 7 seed. I know that in 2020. Last year it was the Seahawks. So that was 2022. So who was it in 2021? That's all you got to know. Bears, somebody, Seahawks. Vikings. Wasn't the Vikings?
It was.
They had a really good record.
21.
In 2022 they did.
Yeah, I thought it was
2021 is when we're looking for.
2021 was, I think, Philly was the 7, right? They went to Tampa Bay. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I think that's correct.
That does sound right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So are all three of us?
Oh, and the Bears were the 7 in 2020, weren't they? They went to New Orleans, scored 9 points.
Yep.
Bears, Eagles, where they couldn't throw the ball.
Trubisky MVP game when the Saints benched Kamara so that he couldn't set the all-time rushing touchdown record or something like that, and everybody was ticked.
Yeah. Then the AFC, I'm pretty sure it was Indy with Phillip Rivers. Pittsburgh had to go to Kansas City. And then Miami Dolphins with Skylar Thompson playing quarterback. Those are the 7 seeds in the AFC.
Gee, I wonder why none of these 7 seeds have ever won. Yeah. It's a shocker.
So,
well, listen, chat. None of you put any donations in this week, so we're ending the stream. What do you think about that? We'll see you back here next week. Go Pack, go.